Have you ever stood at the doorway of a room in your home and felt a strange mix of comfort and sorrow? The comfort of familiarity, but also the quiet ache of knowing you've been holding on for far longer than you should? You see, no one ever teaches us how to let go of a life we've lived, a little bit at a time, especially when each item holds a memory, a person, a piece of who we once were. That's why today I want to share something gentle but powerful. 4 decluttering secrets that professional organizers rarely tell older women like us. Not because they're complicated, but because they work so well, they just might put them out of business. These are not tips about folding shirts or color coding bins. These are inner shifts, tiny questions that make the heavy feel lighter, quiet realizations that turn overwhelm into peace. And if you stay with me, you might just walk away seeing your home and your heart with new eyes. Let me tell you about Ellen. Ellen is 74, a retired piano teacher who wears silk scarves and still keeps a drawer full of her students' recital programs, some from 30 years ago. When I first visited her, she smiled politely, but her eyes were tired. "I want to declutter," she said, "but everything feels like part of me." Her living room still had the baby blankets from when her grandkids were infants. Now they're in college. The guest bedroom, packed with her late husband's suits. She hadn't opened that closet in 5 years. We sat on her porch with cups of peppermint tea, and I didn't offer her advice. I just listened. And slowly she began to ask herself new questions. Not, should I keep this? But rather, does this belong in the life I want to live now? That's where the shift began, and that's where we'll begin too. Let's step into this gently, together. 1. Future self method. Who are you becoming? Let's start with something tender but transformative. The future self method. A gentle shift from what should I keep to who am I becoming? You see, one of the hardest things about decluttering at this stage of life isn't the stuff itself. It's what it represents. A younger version of us. A chapter that's closed, but we've never quite had the heart to put the book down. But here's a truth I've learned, and I share it with love. Decluttering isn't about discarding your past. It's about making space for who you still have the right to become. Let me tell you about Lorraine. Lorraine is 70. She used to host grand holiday dinners, turkey with all the trimmings, fine china, her late husband carving with pride. But now, it's just her. Her children live out of state, and the dining room hasn't been used in 3 years. Still, when she tried to declutter, she clung to every serving platter. "What if they come back?" she'd whisper, even though she knew they probably wouldn't, not the way they used to. I asked her gently, "Lorraine, how do you want to live now?" And after a long pause, she said, "I want lightness. I want to paint in the mornings. I want to have space to stretch." That's where the future self method begins. Here's how it works. First, create a soft, hopeful vision of who you want to be in this next chapter. Maybe you see yourself inviting a few friends for tea, not hosting 12 at Thanksgiving. Maybe you want to start gardening again or turn the spare room into a cozy reading nook. Now, look at each item and ask, not, did I use this? Or, was this expensive? But, does this belong in the life I want now? That's what Lorraine did. She kept her favorite teapot, a pair of teacups with little violets on the rim, and one baking dish that made her feel comforted. The rest? She released gently. And you know what? The empty space in her home started to match the clarity she was building in her mind. It's not about losing the past. It's about honoring it by curating what carries forward. Here's a reflection that may stay with you. We don't declutter to throw things away. We do it to keep only what gives back to our soul. So take a breath. Ask yourself, who do I want to be now? And as we move forward, we'll talk about one of the most powerful tools to help make those decisions with grace, the legacy timeline. Let's explore it together. 2. The legacy reality, what your kids really want. Let's talk about something that weighs quietly on so many of our hearts: the keepsakes, the heirlooms, the one day they'll want this boxes we've lovingly stored for years, sometimes decades. If you're like most women in your 60s or 70s, you might have closets, attics, even entire rooms filled with memories you're holding for your children or grandchildren. But here's a truth very few of us have dared to speak aloud. Most adult children don't want our stuff. I know. That may sting a little, because those things, the wedding china, the handmade quilts, the silver you only used at Christmas, carry stories, your stories, and to imagine them unclaimed or even discarded feels like imagining parts of you being forgotten. But this truth, once accepted gently, can actually be the beginning of freedom. Let me tell you about Eleanor. She's 6, lives in the same home she raised her 2 boys in. Every drawer in her house holds some layer of history: school projects, old report cards, dried corsages, even birthday candles saved just in case. She told me once, half laughing, half weary, "I've become the museum of my family's past." And when we talked about letting some of it go, her first instinct was, "I can't. My sons might want this someday." So we tried something simple. She invited them over, not for a dramatic sorting session, just a quiet Sunday lunch. After the meal, she opened one box. "Tell me," she said gently, "is there anything in here you'd like to keep?" The conversation that followed surprised everyone. One son reached for an old camp photo where he and his brother were making goofy faces. "I remember this day," he smiled. "Can I take this?" The other picked up a faded recipe card in her handwriting. "Mom, this is the apple pie you always made on my birthday. This is what I want." And that was it. Of the dozens of items in the box, those 2 were the only things they felt deeply connected to. At first, Eleanor felt a pang. But then something shifted. "They don't need the stuff to remember," she told me later. "They already carry the love." And that's the legacy we really want to leave, isn't it? Not a burden to sort through, but a few meaningful things that spark warmth when we're no longer here. Not piles of forgotten china, but one framed recipe card in your granddaughter's kitchen. Not a dozen boxes of photo albums, but a digital folder they can carry in their pocket and show their kids. So how do we move forward with peace? Start with these gentle steps. Step 1. Categorize with purpose. Things to enjoy now. Use the tea set, hang the painting, wear the scarf. Let beauty be lived, not boxed. Things to digitize. Scan the letters. Photograph the keepsakes. Make the memories lighter but lasting. Things to pass down now. Ask directly. Is there anything you'd like to have someday? Why don't we choose it together now? Step 2. Invite a legacy conversation. You don't have to make it a big deal. A casual chat over tea or during a family visit works wonders. The key is to ask, not assume. Most children won't bring it up first, but when asked, they'll tell you honestly. And don't be afraid if their answer is no to some things. That's not a rejection of you. It's a reflection of their lives, which are different now. They honor you more when they choose what truly means something to them than if they quietly store your things in their garage, untouched. There's a quote I once heard that stayed with me. "We don't declutter to throw things away. We do it to keep only what gives back to our soul." And sometimes we give that gift to others too, by lightening their future load and honoring the present we still share with them. As for Eleanor, after that lunch with her sons, she spent the next few weeks going through one box at a time. Some things she donated, some she photographed, and some she finally let go of with a quiet thank you. The stories are still with her, but the burden, that's gone. Now, she tells me, I feel like I'm giving my family a gift, not just of less stuff, but of more clarity, more peace. So ask yourself gently today, are you preserving love or postponing decisions? And how would it feel to finally have those conversations now while they can still be full of connection? In the next part of our journey, we'll explore how to keep the memories without keeping the physical weight through a beautiful method called emotional anchoring. Let's continue together. 3. Emotional anchors. What do you really want to remember? There's a quiet kind of heartache that comes not from what we've lost, but from the fear of forgetting. For many of us, the hardest part of letting go isn't the object itself. It's what it represents. The apron still stained with blackberry pie from summers long gone. The jacket he wore when he fixed the fence that winter. The music box your daughter once danced to as a little girl. These things are more than clutter. They are anchors to the people, the seasons, the feelings we never want to lose. But let me ask you something gently. Are these objects helping you feel closer to the memory? Or are they making it harder to live in the now? Let me tell you about Clara. She's 74 and spent much of her time sitting in what used to be her husband's study. After he passed, she didn't change a thing. His tools were still on the shelf. His books remained open on the desk. Even his coffee mug sat where he last left it. But she never felt peace in that room, only a deep ache. I thought keeping it exactly the same would help me remember him, she told me. But instead, it kept me from moving forward. I was frozen. That's when we talked about emotional anchoring. The idea is simple, yet powerful. You don't need to keep everything to hold on to the memory. You just need to choose with intention. We began by identifying the feelings she most wanted to remember about her husband. Not the objects, but the essence. She said, his steadiness, his hands always building something, the way he made this house feel safe. So we chose one tool, his favorite wooden-handled hammer, and placed it in a shadow box with a photo of him in his workshop. She donated the rest, but that one anchor, lovingly displayed, made her feel closer to him than the entire untouched room ever had. For her wedding dress, we took a piece of the fabric and stitched it into a small keepsake pillow that she now keeps by her bedside. For the letters they wrote each other, we scanned them into a digital album her granddaughter helped design. So now those memories are not just preserved, but easily shared. This is the heart of emotional anchoring. Choose one or two items that truly represent the memory. Give them a place of honor, a visible reminder of love, not a hidden relic of grief. Let the rest go with gratitude, not guilt. Because here's the truth. We don't declutter to throw things away. We do it to keep only what gives back to our soul. Too many of us keep entire closets of emotion locked away in things. But when we distill a memory into something intentional, one photo, one recipe card, one worn flannel shirt, we can finally breathe again. The memory becomes lighter, yet somehow more alive. Clara now reads in that room. She's turned it into a cozy nook with a rocking chair and a shelf of her favorite novels. Her husband's hammer still hangs by the window, catching the morning light. I feel him here more now than when everything was untouched, she said, because now it's a space we both would have loved. So ask yourself gently today, what do I really want to remember? And how can I carry that memory without carrying the weight? In the next part, we'll explore how to protect your progress and build habits that prevent clutter from returning through a beautiful mindset called threshold mastery. Let's keep moving forward one tender decision at a time. 4. Threshold gatekeeping. Stop clutter before it enters. There's something we don't talk about enough. Decluttering isn't just about what we let go of. It's also about what we choose to let in. Because no matter how much you tidy up today, if you keep saying yes to things tomorrow, the clutter will quietly return, like ivy growing back through the cracks. Let me share the story of Nancy. She's 69, a retired school librarian with a warm smile and a generous heart. She'd done the hard work, cleared out closets, sorted boxes of old teaching materials, donated bags of unused linens. For the first time in years, she could breathe in her own home. But 6 months later, the guest room was once again filled with bags of hand-me-downs, unopened mail, and little just-in-case purchases. It wasn't neglect. It was love, habit, and guilt, all tangled together. I didn't mean for it to happen, she said. I just kept accepting things. My sister's dishes, my friend's extra coat, a new throw pillow on sale. And suddenly, the house felt heavy again. That's when I introduced her to the idea of threshold gatekeeping, becoming the quiet guardian of your space with clear and gentle boundaries. It starts with awareness. Ask yourself, do I say yes to things out of guilt or obligation? Am I buying for the life I have or the one I had 20 years ago? What do I feel when I bring something new into my home? Comfort or clutter? Nancy realized she was holding on to her entertainer self, the version of her that used to host big Sunday brunches. But these days, she preferred quiet mornings with her garden and afternoon tea with one friend at a time. Once she saw that, the habit changed. We created a soft, simple system together. 1. A 48-hour pause shelf. Whenever something new tempted her, she'd place it there and wait 2 days. 2. A set of personal gatekeeper questions she taped inside her pantry. Does this serve the life I'm living now? If I say yes to this, what am I saying no to in space, time, or peace? 3. And most importantly, a gentle permission to say no. To her sister's old casserole dish, to the 2-for-1 sale, to the catalog promising a cozier life in 12 easy payments. The result? Freedom. Nancy didn't just stop accumulating. She began curating. Her home stayed light, her shelves breathing room. And every item inside began to feel like a choice, not a burden. Because here's the quiet truth. We don't declutter to throw things away. We do it to keep only what gives back to our soul. So today, I invite you to stand at the doorway of your life, not with fear, but with grace. Become the gentle gatekeeper. Let what's beautiful in and lovingly decline the rest. Your peace is worth protecting. Up next, we'll meet a woman who turned her entire home around by creating a vision for the next 10 years of her life. Let's talk about what it means to design your space for becoming, not just for remembering. 5. The 5-minute rule. Ritual, not chore. Let me tell you something I've learned after a lifetime of managing a home. It's never the big messes that weigh us down the most. It's the little things that pile up quietly, day after day. The teacup left on the counter, the mail unopened by the door, the sweater draped over the chair. And before you know it, peace slips away, replaced by that low hum of unrest. But what if the answer isn't to work harder or longer, but just 5 minutes? That's what changed everything for Joanne, a 74-year-old retired nurse who used to end her days feeling frazzled. Her home wasn't a disaster, but it never felt settled. I'd get ready for bed, she said, and all I'd see was a dozen little reminders of what I hadn't done. We talked about one simple idea, the 5-minute reset. Not a chore, a ritual, just 5 minutes every evening to put things gently back in place, not perfectly, just intentionally, the way you might smooth the covers on a guest bed before company arrives. It's not about scrubbing, it's about honoring the space you live in. Joanne set a little timer on her kitchen counter. She called it her evening blessing. For 5 minutes, she'd turn on soft music, dim the lights, and just restore a little order. Wipe the table, stack the books, return the keys to their dish. And somehow, that tiny act shifted everything. Within 2 weeks, her mornings felt different. No more searching for glasses or moving piles off the table. Just ease. And something more subtle, self-respect. As she put it, I realized I was treating my home like it mattered. And in doing so, I reminded myself that I matter. That's the quiet power of a 5-minute ritual. Not to chase perfection, but to create peace. Because here's a gentle truth worth remembering. We don't declutter to throw things away. We do it to keep only what gives back to our soul. So tonight, before you climb into bed, I invite you to light a candle, breathe deeply, and give your home a 5-minute blessing. One small corner, one gentle reset. It's not about getting everything done. It's about tending to what holds you. And now, let's move to the heart of the matter. What if you could keep only the memories and not the mess? In the next part, we'll explore how to release with love the items tied to your past while keeping the meaning fully intact. 6. Release with love, not guilt. One of the hardest truths I've had to learn in my later years is this. Keeping something out of guilt does not honor its meaning. It only burdens your heart. I remember my dear friend Ellen, 76, who kept an entire cabinet filled with old gifts, wedding favors, souvenirs, and hand-me-downs from her late sister. She never used them, never looked at them, but every time she thought about letting them go, she'd whisper, "It would feel like a betrayal." What we talked about was this. Love doesn't live in the object. Love lives in the memory. And we can keep the memory even if we release the item. Ellen took a deep breath and chose just one piece, a vintage brooch her sister wore every Easter. She kept that in a shadow box near her bedside. The rest she released with a silent thank you. She said, "I didn't throw them out. I let them go, like setting a boat free on calm water." That's the heart of it. Decluttering isn't about loss. It's about recognizing what still serves your soul and letting go of what doesn't with compassion. Because here's something I remind myself often. We don't declutter to throw things away. We do it to keep only what gives back to our soul. If you're holding on to something because you're afraid of what it would mean to let it go, pause. Ask yourself, am I honoring the memory or just avoiding the sadness of goodbye? Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing space over sorrow, presence over the past. And sometimes letting go with love is the most sacred act of all. Now, as we near the close of this journey, let's take one final moment together to reflect on what truly matters and how your home can hold it gently without the weight. A new chapter begins. You've walked through memories, decisions, and quiet moments of courage today. And now, here you are, standing at the gentle edge of a new chapter. It's not about an empty house. It's about a home that breathes with intention, with peace, and with you, as you are today. Decluttering is never just about tidying up. It's about reclaiming energy, honoring who you're becoming, and giving yourself permission to let life feel lighter. Because every object you choose to keep should echo a soft yes in your heart. And everything you let go, you release with gratitude. There's a quiet wisdom I hold close. We don't declutter to throw things away. We do it to keep only what gives back to our soul. So tonight, before you rest, maybe choose just one small item to release. Not to erase the past, but to make space for all the morning still waiting for you. If this journey has spoken to your heart, I invite you to leave a comment. What will you let go of starting today? And remember, no matter where you begin, the next beautiful chapter of your life starts with one loving step.